Well, we finished the XP path with 45 days to go. With my subathon hitting almost an entire month of playing this game straight, I was able to get Macklin Celebrini far too early, but nonetheless, getting one of my favorite players in the NHL from my Sharks gave me a bunch of excitement that was going to force me to change up my team. Here's the issue, the salary cap. So as you can see, my team hasn't really changed over the last 2 weeks of the game, and that's because we really haven't gotten any new line combinations, which has made team building extremely stale in a year where it should be the most fun. EA's extreme lack of implementing new line combos has pretty much hamstrung anyone that is trying to make a competitive team, and all you can really do is upgrade around the margins, like Elias Pettersson in for Marcus Naslund. So I spent over an hour with my chat trying to figure out a way to get Macklin Celebrini on my team without making my entire roster that much worse. So here is where I began. My first line was the only one without any line combinations, so replacing one of Nathan MacKinnon, Fedorov, or McDavid would be the easiest. Since he's a lefty, it would have to be Connor McDavid or Fedorov, two of the best cards in the entire game. So I then decided that let's just break up the Solani, Roenick, and Teravainen line by putting Solani on line 1, even without any boosts. Solani is still one of the best cards in the game with 94 speed and 92 excel. And without the Chicago Blackhawk and Finn line combination necessary, that meant Teuvo Teravainen was expendable. So in went Macklin Celebrini, and all is well, until you realize that I'm 4.8 million over the cap. So the next possibility was to just make my fourth line almost unusable, but the issue with that is that my fourth line is very important when you play in a higher tier of ranked. I went through all of the options. I went through the Carl Grundstrom paired with Ty Karche from the Seattle Kraken, as well as Kiefer Sherwood to get the plus 11 AP bonus. The problem is, like I mentioned, it's just a big downgrade from my current fourth line. I messed around with my decor, I messed around with other line combos that could give Celebrini a boost, and at the end of the day, I just really didn't enjoy the fact that I was going to tear apart my team, all to put Macklin Celebrini in, who again is one of my favorite players, with 76 endurance. It was a major letdown and a big frustration point, and I know that I preach you want to always use your favorite players. However, the main way that I enjoy the game, and a really big focus of the series, is performing well online. And because I'm old, I need all of the help I can get by making my team as good as I possibly can. So while Macklin's card played fine, it just wasn't nearly worth the cap hit and the lack of combinations you can have at the top end of the game. So there hasn't really been any changes other than making Jonathan Toews my fourth line center. This is a great card, 95 faceoffs, best in the game. Anytime I really need to win a draw, I can just throw my fourth line out there. I also added in Michael Bunting, and again, 86 speed and excel on my fourth line is more than usable, and he gives me that big plus 9 AP boost. However, because it is the fantasy hockey event, after the extremely lackluster launch, they released an additional set of objectives that allowed us to make a second account-bound player item, so I went ahead and completed that. So, as you can see, I was able to complete both Marquee event objectives, as well as the 2 fantasy hockey objectives, and I did this all while just using Marquee player items during a Superstar Cup chase run. No Letang, no Palat. EA wouldn't do me like this. Here we go. Hall, Barzal, Lafreniere, we're humming. 37.5% to get one of them. No Palat, no Letang. Let's go! Yeah! I love my Islanders. Not JVR. We'll take it. That's all right. I love my saves. Not JVR. It wasn't JVR. Well, all right. I'll take it. So leaving the fantasy event with a tier 1 fantasy option in Matthew Barzal, I'm pretty happy with. It won't take long before he's usable in your lineup. A few goals, and he's already got the skating that, while won't be impactful for the rest of his attributes, can at least be on your team, and quick release is one of the best abilities. Bowen Byram in the same situation. He's already got usable skating. He is going to need a couple goals, though, to actually be able to put him on the decor because his defensive awareness is just so bad, but defensemen get +2 overall when they score, so I'm hoping Bowen Byram can pot some early on. But like I said, I'm not terribly upset with the 2 that I was able to get. Now, people have been asking me if I'm going to do another fantasy hockey player item, and I just don't think I'm going to. The cost is just way too high, and because I've already done the 2 best divisions, in my opinion, I don't want to risk it and do an account-bound item from the Pacific and the Central. So the only other option would be getting 40 collectibles, and because sets haven't changed in terms of what you need to make a collectible, there's no way I'm going to justify spending all of the 450,000 coins I have and basically selling Connor McDavid from my team just to get another fantasy card. So I'm good with the 2 I got. EA made a horrible mistake when it comes to the cost of making the individual items, even with the 32 they gave us. But at least we did get 2 free fantasy hockey players, so there is that. Now, after quite a delay for our Hut Champs rewards, I did get the 13 collectibles that I had earned in my run last week. And while I admit the reward options aren't fantastic, I looked through the list of what's available. I thought about going after one of the players, but I really just didn't think that any of the options really benefited my team. So I decided to go with the Hut Champs Mega Pack, and it was all right. Nothing crazy, but I made about 60,000 coins because it is all tradable, so I'll take that. If you did not earn enough to get any of the high tier packs, what I would recommend is to basically just save your collectibles until you can make anything above the premium pack. Those items don't really have an option to pull something really high, so it's super pack and above is what I would recommend. We also got a brand new team of the week with the 85 Mitch Marner. Now, you guys know I've talked about this a ton. I save all my team of the week items now essentially to try and make sure that I can get the objectives done quickly. And I've really run into a spot here where I actually have like every team of the week item. The only one I'm missing currently is the 82 Simon Edvinsson. And because he fits into a very good line combo, he's just too expensive for me right now. But I've ended up with every single team of the week item. And I think I'm just going to keep completing this and collecting them. Now, if this will work like last year, the Star of the Month will come out, and it will require you to trade in the Captain Team of the Week items, like Mitch Marner, Slafkovsky, and Pettersson, but we don't know how that is going to work and when it is going to work. However, I'm just kind of not so much risking it, but preparing for that drop if I can, and because I have a ton of coins, why not? This is the first week, however, that I did make the 85 overall Team of the Week item, and that's just simply because the cost of the 82 overalls had hit a point where I was comfortable paying with it, even if it is untradeable. And again, the whole goal is to just get as many Team of the Week items in my lineup as I can so that I can throw them all into Cup Chase, play a Superstar Cup Chase run, and get all of the rewards very quickly. After 3 weeks, I've already gotten 3 82 overalls for Team of the Week by just completing these objectives. Now, just like the Team of the Week, I talked about this a lot as well. Before you make your Master Set player item in week 2 for an event, you want to make sure that you're using as many of them in your lineup while you're doing Cup Chase. That way you can bang out the objectives as fast as possible. As you can see, I had half a roster of these Hut Marquee player items when all was said and done. And after completing the objectives, it was time to make the Master Set item for the series. Now, if you haven't watched my rankings from the Marquee event, I gotta be honest with you, there's really not any must-make cards from this event. However, the only reason that I'm gonna make a Master Set player item is simply because it's one of the goals of the series. We've got to make a Master Set player item from every event, so that's what we're gonna do. And this scenario got me thinking about future line combinations. So when there's no card that you want to pick, whether it's Clayton Keller, Jack Hughes, or Aaron Ekblad, I'm gonna make the card that if they got a +2 boost, who would be the best? And for me, it's Jack Hughes. So we're going to go ahead and make Jack Hughes to add him to the collection. So I go ahead and cash in all of the 82s that I've gotten from this event and other objectives. And now we can add him to the team. I mean, once we get a line combination for him, there's no way that I can justify putting him in and over Connor McDavid. But lastly, let's go over the finale of my Hut Champs run this week. Now, last week I finished 12-8, which was super disappointing. This week was even worse. I had 4 straight games in which I had a 2-0 lead that I ended up losing. Going into my final 4 games, I was 8-8, which, again, for me, I set my standard kind of high. 12 wins is the bare minimum for me. So I was dead set on the final game to at least make sure I win this and salvage the run. So late in the first period, I have Justin Barron. I hold the puck protect so I can spin around. I cut right back into the slot and fire one upstairs of one of the nicest goals that I'm ever going to score, especially with Justin Barron to take the 1-0 lead. However, early on in the second, I get caught chasing out of position. I try to manually cover the backdoor pass, which is just completely futile in this game. So my opponent just sends it over to Jack Eichel and taps it in to tie it up. And then moments later, I get caught behind the net. My opponent goes for the easy backhand, just walks right out in front. This is a go-to goal, and you can't leave that open. So now I'm down 2-1. I really didn't have anything going into the second period, so I thought I'd hit him with some razzle-dazzle. Can't let that happen, buddy. Oh, you just can't let that happen. Still in the second period, and I've got a bad case of deja vu. Just skates down the middle. No matter what, I'm manually covering it with Zubov, but I can't get there because you just don't intercept that pass, and Pettersson drills one home to retake the lead. However, the Not a Dollars don't stop fighting, and this is a perfect example of why I love having a good fourth line, because when you get some decent matchups, they can actually do damage. Shane Wright just cuts one into the middle, and my fourth line comes up huge to tie it right before the end of the second period. 4 minutes into the third, I bait him all the way over to the boards, hit him with a nasty half spin to cause a panic turn. I cut back into the middle, Pasternak misses me completely, and then a little forehand backhand and roof it upstairs. This Pettersson card has been awesome. That lead, however, is pretty short-lived as I make a horrible overcommit. He curls right back into the slot and just goes far side upstairs with Heiskanen. Haven't been able to lock it down defensively. Into the final minute of the third period, I'm trying to defend a 2-on-1 that somehow Sorokin stops. He loses the puck along the boards. Then it's Pettersson's turn down the ice. Looking for yet another. I cut into the middle, hit Pasternak, wait him out for a half second, and then fire one upstairs with quick release, and David Pasternak makes it a 5-4 game with just seconds remaining. So that would do it. After an absolutely abysmal run in Hut Champs, I somehow managed to salvage it, get back to 12-8 just like last week. Not nearly a good enough of a performance, but at least the bottom didn't fall out, and I'll be able to get my collectibles to do another pack next week. So that's going to do it for this episode of No Money Spent. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.